July 11th to order. Please rise and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, I think so.
I love hearing those medals. Okay, roll call this evening. There are two board directors missing who will be appearing any minute, Director Velasquez and Director France. Both have notified us they are on their way. Before we get started this evening, I would just like to take a moment to welcome Dr. Michael Thomas to his first official meeting as the new superintendent of Prior Lake Savage Area Schools. I know the board, the staff, and the community is very excited to work with you, and I want to welcome you to our meeting tonight.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Thank you. All right, this evening we do have one person signed up for our open forum, so I'll just read our open forum policies. School boards are not required by Minnesota statute to offer public comment during meetings. However, it has long been the policy of this district to welcome public input in a variety of ways, including open forum at board meetings. So I want to thank you for being here tonight. Individuals who wish to address the board may do so on a topic at board meetings that is not on the agenda. At least 10 minutes prior to each meeting, a sign-up sheet will be available at the meeting site for individuals to sign up to address the board. Only those whose names appear on the sign-up sheet at the time the meeting is called to order shall be permitted to address the board. It is our expectation that speakers at public forum are district staff, students, parents, taxpayers, or residents of our PLSAS community. The reason we ask for public comment is to hear from our local stakeholders. Up to 5 speakers shall be provided a maximum of 3 minutes, 15 minutes total, to address the board unless an exception is granted. Speakers will not be allowed to verbally attack, disparage, or potentially defame individual board members, employees, or students, nor may speakers use vulgar or profane language. Also, speakers may be precluded from disclosing personally identifiable private data regarding employees or students. Speakers unwilling to conform to the rules or time constraints may be told his or her privilege of speaking has ended. Board members, we shall listen respectfully to issues brought to us by the community, but not engage the individuals during their time. The board shall not deliberate or take action during the open forum regarding an issue presented. If follow-up by administration is necessary, the chair shall request the superintendent to follow up on the matter. We ask that not only the speakers, but the people in attendance tonight be respectful. If there's clapping, cheering, boos, or other disruptions, we do have to discontinue public comment. We do not want to create an environment where people with possibly differing views are afraid to speak because of comments or outbursts. As a reminder, we then ask for quiet in the boardroom so staff and board members can easily discuss district business going forward. Vice Chair Amy Crosby has time cards tonight. The yellow card will show when there's 15 seconds left, and the red when it's time to stop. And our first speaker and only speaker this evening is Stacy Buckingham. Hi, Stacy. Thanks for coming.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. I am here tonight to talk to you about our facilities. Over the course of last year, we heard from all your stakeholders, and I think when we were in focus groups and just overall, that the theme emerged that everyone is very proud of our facilities here in Prior Lake. And I agree that we do have some very beautiful facilities. However, the grass fields at the middle schools where our youth lacrosse players play are not in that realm. So our boys are playing in fields where the grass may or may not be mowed, where there's probably more dirt in the goal area and at center field than there is grass. There's holes. There's just a bunch of things that make it less than ideal when we go to other cities who have very nice fields for us to play on. And to double down on that, we are playing on these grass fields, and right behind we have a very beautiful turf field that is empty almost 100% of the time. So our visitors ask us, well, gosh, why aren't we playing over there on the turf when it's just sitting there? And so in speaking to our directors at like Play Lacrosse, for example, it's just priced out of our range. So it's $65 an hour to rent the field right now. And so I would just encourage you to look at whatever policies you have towards field rental for our youth, because our tax dollars pay for those facilities and we pay for our children to play those facilities. So we would just love them to have an opportunity to use the field. It's there, it's sitting vacant, and I would just like to see it used more. So I would love you to examine that. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. Okay, as they get settled at this time, I would take a motion to approve this evening's agenda.
So made.
By Julie. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Stacy. Any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries 7-1. Next up will be the consent agenda. A consent agenda includes items that are considered to be routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion. On tonight's consent agenda, we have financials, including the check wire transfer disbursement summary, the wire transfer, EFT, and ACH banking activity, the bank reconciliation statement, the monthly wire detail, the monthly health and dental wire detail, the monthly check detail, and the monthly ACH detail. Also, the approval of school board minutes from the regular meeting on June 13th, 2022. Under personnel, there are candidates for employment, resignations, terminations, and non-renewals as listed in your packet. We will also have the approval of memberships for the 2022-23 year, including memberships to Schools for Equity and Education, MSBA and Policy Services, AMSD, Metro ECSU, and MSHSL membership. We will also be naming the Assistant Board Clerk, authorizing persons to lease, purchase, and contract for goods and services within the budget, designate the school district special education director, district LEA, ESEA programs, and data practices compliance officer, delegate the authority to make electronic transfers, and designation of the identified official with authority for the MDE external user access recertification system. And I believe that is everything on the consent agenda as listed. All the details are below each point on your packet. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda this evening?
So made.
By Amy. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Mary. Any questions or comments? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. That passes 7-0. Thank you. Next up is our resolution for the acceptance of gifts. I will be taking a motion in a moment to accept the resolution for donations. This time around, we are thanking Jennifer Meschke, a donation to Hidden Oaks Middle School, and the Prior Lake Lions Club for scholarships for community education families with hardships. Do I have a motion to accept the resolution accepting donations?
So made.
By Enrique, a second?
Second.
A second by Julie. Any comments or questions? Okay, this is a roll call vote. Jonathan?
Aye.
Enrique?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Stacy?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Aye. That carries 7-0. Thank you very much. All right, tonight we have Laker Pride Special Recognition and our Laker Showcase. And first up, we are celebrating the Prior Lake Savage Optimist Club donation of the student art to the district office. And I'm not sure which staff person is doing that, or just, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Last night I didn't wear my ankle brace.
Oh, no.
Screwed it up there. Okay.
Yeah.
So, hi, I'm Andrea, and I'm on the, a board member for Prior Lake Optimist Club. Every year we have an art contest at the high school, and we award several prizes, monetary prizes to the students. But something really neat that we do, and we've been doing this for years, and you all know, because every year we buy a piece if the student's willing to sell it. So Sarah who will be a junior this fall, right? So this is the first digital photography piece that we're buying. So later, you can go down the hall and see this goes back years and years of all kinds of artwork that is hung here at the District Service Center. And this is going to be in a real prominent area. I hear Martha has a lot of fire in her step, so this is right across from her office, and if that doesn't get people energized, they'll work and chase around, so it's gonna be in a great spot. And I think, Sarah, I'd like to just first give you this. That's $200. And
Could we ask you possibly to do it at the microphone? That's just so people watching could hear the description.
it's always interesting to hear.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, I took this photo for Photography 2, fourth quarter last year, and it was for a project, and I really liked it, and so my teacher ended up submitting it, and so, it was dropped into a fish tank, and yeah, that's how we got the bubbles and everything. And, yeah.
I was wondering how you did that.
I know we have it facing forward, so everybody out there can see it, but board members, if you didn't get to see it, I'm going to ask you to walk by and go ahead and take a closer look afterward as well. So congratulations to you. Did
Thank
you want to
you.
say more? I'm sorry.
No, that's it.
Thank you so much for
More
what you
years
did
that
and
you
for,
can enter.
Yeah.
Some
Great.
people have won more than once. Yeah.
that's great. Thank you. Do you need a picture, Christy?
Picture of the picture.
Great. Thank you, both of you, for coming forward this evening, and we are so excited to have this hanging in our district service center. Let's give her a round of applause. All right, next up, I think Director Beth Fuller will be coming forward. Is that correct? Is Beth-
Or not.
Okay, should we go ahead and just do it anyway? You've got the
Sure.
information?
I got the
Okay.
information.
So I'll be turning it over to Dr. Thomas. We will be celebrating this evening the varsity cheerleading, the PL trap shooting team, and Alan Kaler in wrestling, state champs.
Yeah, so you heard the medals earlier this evening, and those are medals of honor. And tonight we want to recognize our varsity cheerleading team in appreciation and recognition for your valuable contributions to Prior Lake Savage Area Schools and to commend you on an amazing year of cheer. So if you all would like to come forward and your coaches, or if any, okay,
Yes.
coaches, come forward and then I'll present you all the certificate and then we'll get a picture of you all so we can congratulate you.
We want to see those medals, not just hear them, right?
What? Yeah.
Yeah, right in here, because the camera's right there, actually, so if you guys just want to line up right now.
Nice and tight.
I'm gonna say, or lift each other up.
We're gonna get photos.
Aren't we doing a pyramid? Is that what you said?
That's so cool. I just don't like disability. True, okay, not here then. Okay.
National champions. National champions.
And then you guys want to go down
Those cool jackets.
and get a picture for all of you. All right, congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you all for coming tonight as well.
Next, I would like to recognize Alan Kaler. This is their certificate also in appreciation in recognition of your valuable contributions to the Prior Lake Savage Area Schools. And this is for state championships in wrestling. So if Alan could come forward. If he's
Can I
not here,
don't see him?
is he here?
I don't know if he's
Not here?
Okay, well, like the Grammys, on his behalf, we'll be more than happy to accept this. We are proud of our students here in the district. Lastly, we would like to recognize our Prior Lake trap shooting team. Again, for their state championship and appreciation and recognition for their valuable contributions to our district. And is anyone here from our Prior Lake trap shooting team? And seeing none on their behalf, we will also congratulate them and make sure that they are recognized and given this certificate of appreciation. And Chair Nelson, those are the Laker Pride moments for
Great.
tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas. All right, next we will move on to personnel items with Executive Director of Administrative Services, Jim Querum.
Good evening, Board Chair, Board members, Superintendent Thomas. I have a few personnel items for you today. I'm going to come up here because I'm going to ask, Michelle's here. She can come and join me. We have two administrative hires. We have the Director of Assessment Evaluation and District Improvement, Janelle Zumbush, who is not present tonight, and Michelle, who is the Director of Student Support Services. And I bring these forward for your consideration of approval for their data sheets in order to have their contracts approved. So I'm going to have Michelle say a few words about her, and then we'll have a vote.
This is very unexpected for me to say anything tonight. It kind of caught me on the way in. I am very honored to serve as the Director of Student Support Services here and a proud member of the community. I have two kids in the district, one at Hidden Oaks and one at Westwood, so it's fun to be in the same district. And I'm passionate about, equitable teaching and having all kids have an opportunity to learn and be included in things. So I'm proud to do that here for Prior Lake. So thank you.
Thank you. Welcome to the district. All right, could I have a motion to approve the district administrators as listed in our packet this evening?
So made. Second.
So made. Julie Bernick, motion.
Yep, I said second.
Stacy is the second.
Yep.
Okay, great. Any comments or questions? Comments, I will say again, welcome to the district. All those in favor of approving the district administrator, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries 7-0. Thank you. All right.
All right. Next personnel item is additional staffing for educational support staff. There are two of them as listed in your board packet. One of those is a building engineer. And that, as you can see, what we're trying to do is to create a energy position. We're doing that by reducing a custodial floater position and then some additional funds from the general fund. So that's one. The other is a child nutrition coordinator. This is basically creating a new level of a position at the high school because of the amount of staff, the workload that's there, and the leadership needed in order to run that department in that building. And so we're making some adjustments there as well. And so there would be an increase for the individual who's fills that position currently as the manager.
Okay, thank you. Could I have a motion to approve staffing for the 2022-23 educational support staff?
So made.
By Jonathan. Amy is a second. Any comments or questions?
Question.
Go ahead.
So those are just increases with the change in positions?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries 7-0. Thank you. then
And finally, the last one is assistant dance coach. It's always good to be able to come forward to say that as programs grow and there is more interest and more kids involved in sports and activities, that we can come forward and ask for additional coaches or advisors. And this is an example of the increase in participation. Obviously, the coach's stipend and benefits are there, but there's participation fees to hopefully offset some of that. But we do have an increase in interest, and so we're bringing forward an assistant dance coach for fall.
Okay. Could I have a motion to approve the assistant dance coach for 2022-23 school year?
So made.
By Julie. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Jonathan. Any comments or questions? Great to hear that the programs are growing. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries 7-0. Thank you.
BLDT, baby.
All right, there's no unfinished business tonight, so we are going to move on to new business. Is Beth here yet? She's on her way. She's on County Road 42. The meeting started at 7. Oh, okay. Could we go ahead in the agenda and come back with everyone's approval here? Up next, we'll do the child nutrition update with the Director of Child Nutrition Services, Emily Mullen.
Hello, and good evening, Board and Dr. Thomas. Thanks for having me. Every year around this time, I like to give you guys just an update on what's new and exciting, or what's happened in the past year in child nutrition. So, am I queued up here somewhere? Oh,
Excellent slides. It's fun.
I like to keep it fun and foodie. Okay, maybe I don't.
You're clicking on add a comment, you just want to cancel.
It's just a PDF. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I'm just gonna slide. Okay. Okay. All right, you guys. So, school year 21-22. Last summer, when we were planning for 21-22, and I was thinking about how we started the previous year and all of those challenges, I thought, well, we are gonna get back to normal, or at least close to normal. And USDA extended, changed and amended about 90 of their waivers that they had enacted for the year before that were all COVID related, but they were all not too bad. So, we weren't learning all of those things all over again. We were super excited to go back to serving those menus that we've always been so proud of, with having 2 hot entrees and 1 cold entrees at all of our elementary schools. And we had 2 hot and 1 cold in the bowl at all of our secondaries. And we had school garden vegetables and produce in our schools and farm to school items. We were just so excited. And as August started to approach and kind of roll through, we realized that we were seeing some really big issues with staffing and supply chains, and they were both intermixed because all of our vendors were having supply chain issues that were, associated with staffing issues and vice versa. One of the things that we really prided ourselves on the year before was that we didn't lay any child nutrition staff off. We allowed a lot of our staff to take extended leaves of absence, and we just naively thought they'd all come back. But, as the summer rolled through last year, everybody was just a little bit less certain about what the school year was gonna look like. So some of our staff that are parents in the district didn't end up coming back to us. So pretty quickly, we realized that we were not going to be able to staff our kitchens like we were hoping. So let me just figure out where I am here with my. So here is our first place for an opportunity. So one of our challenges turning into an opportunity. Early October, I think it was around October 8th, we sent out a Sign Up Genius to parents and guardians in the district and just everybody that was one of our stakeholders in the district, asking for volunteers to help us serve food in our lunchrooms. And we sent out a Sign Up Genius that had 220 slots in it, and within 2 hours, every single one of them was filled. And that was just so heartwarming. I mean, this amazing community coming to support us in that short amount of time, asking no questions, just saying, yep, we're here for you. It was absolutely amazing. We had parents and guardians, district school board members, PLSA staff members from the DSC, the activities department, crosswalk supervisors, our amazing secretaries. The list goes on and on. And so that was really, really amazing for us because it was a really tough time for my team. And then Carol Levin even got wind of it, and so we were able to share that amazingness nationally, which was really cool. So, and then you can see a quote there from one of our volunteers, and I believe it's a mom in the district who said that she had fun serving lunch, but more importantly, she gained a new appreciation for the job that we do every day. And she said, thank you for taking care of our kids. So, we made really valuable connections with our community members through that really tough time. So that was a really neat thing. So all these silver linings with the pandemic. We were certainly not unique with our staffing issues, and we're certainly not alone with our supply chain challenges. Very quickly, as the school year started, we realized that we were gonna have some major issues with procuring some of our main food and beverage items like milk and chicken, and then even gloves, you know, just the basics of what we use to run our department were becoming very hard to procure. So, going back to those pre-COVID menus where it was becoming a little bit dicey. Let's see, the gloves that we could procure were more expensive, the food is more expensive. However, one of our supply chains that remained strong was that of our partnerships with our local farmers. And so they were all like, hey, we can still, you know, pick our produce and get it to you, and, you know, we're in Elko and Prior Lake, so we just added a whole lot more fresh local produce to our menus. So some fun pictures here on the top left. That is Matt Ahrens. He's a Prior Lake alum, and he has Spring Lake Farms right on Panama Avenue in Prior Lake. And his mission is to feed all of the kids of Prior Lake healthy, nutritious foods, and he's starting with microgreens. And so we had him come and speak to some kiddos over at Five Hawks, and we did a Try It Tuesday with his microgreens, and now they're on their salad bars every day. So that's kind of neat. Waxwing Farms is the family there in the middle, and we've had a relationship with them for a couple of years. I have a picture of the van there mainly because he's got his kiddo in a car seat in the van, you know, because it was one of those days when they were home distance learning, and he was like, come on, kiddo, we're going to the high school in Prior Lake to drop off carrots. So I just thought that was really neat. And then the little girl with the green beans and the corn, the green beans are actually from Waxwing Farm, which is in Webster, and the corn is from Casey's Farm, right in Prior Lake. And then up in the top corner there is Delicata Squash that we got from Thompson's Hillcrest Apples, and they are a partner of ours that we've had for almost 10 years now, and it's always been apples. But the year prior to last, Jean Thompson called and said, hey, you know, I've got this section of orchard that I'm not gonna plant trees on. What, you know, do you guys want us to plant something for you? And we were like, okay. And so we asked him to plant Delicata Squash. And so he's got a whole section of his orchard that's just Delicata Squash for us. So it's on our menu as much as we can possibly have it, because it's really a neat product. And that was something that we Try It Tuesday a long time ago, you know, and kids end up loving it. So that's kind of just some fun stuff that came out of those issues and challenges that we had that were great opportunities for us to connect with community members. Some of the grants and assistance opportunities that we took advantage of. The Minnesota Department of Agriculture asked districts to apply for this Harvest of the Month pilot program, and we were chosen. I think there was about 20 schools that were chosen, and they mainly provided technical assistance and digital and print media, and then they gave us $4,500 to spend, and they're pretty open with how we could spend it. So we spent it a lot of times on speakers like Matt Ahrens. We bought some product. We used some of the money to rent out a space. But some of the really neat things that came out of the Harvest of the Month pilot is we had Matt Ahrens come and speak from Spring Lake Farm. We had Karina Lyons, our American Indian Student Support Coordinator. She came and talked to classrooms about the history of wild rices from our regions. And then we had Thompson's Hillcrest apples, and students made structures out of apples and toothpicks, and then they tasted the different varieties of apples and tried to talk, you know, figure out what the differences were and guess what brand they were and stuff. So, oh, and we also had John Peterson. The Peterson family farm is in Cannon Falls. Turkeys. We've been doing them for a long time. But anyways, I'm blanking on that, sorry. So anyways, he came and talked about his organic turkey farm. So, and now Minnesota Department of Ag will be rolling this program out to all the schools next year, all Minnesota schools next year. We also got that Minnesota Ag Full Tray grant. and it was $18,235 that we got to use to match for equipment. And one of the main things that we used that money for was to buy a double-door refrigerator that we will use as a farm drop so that smaller farms can come and just drop once. Because a lot of times they're really just bringing us, 10 or 20 pounds of a produce, and for them to drive around all 10 schools, it's kind of a burden. So we're already moving food all the time anyway, so if they can drop it all at one school, it really helps them. So, and then we got our portion of the supply chain assistance funds from USDA, which is about $152,000. We got it towards the end of last school year, and it's to offset the high price of domestically grown foods. So we're able to use that on domestically grown foods through 2023. So, and then looking ahead, again, call us naive, but we're really hoping that we're going to get to go back to keep moving towards our pre-COVID menus and level of service. So we're excited about that. We're hoping that all of our school gardens will be up and running and that we'll be able to do every opportunity we can to do some learning in the lunchroom. So we're going to keep meal prices at the pre-pandemic level. The Kids Fed Act just passed on June 30th, which will provide an extra 40 cents per reimbursable lunch and an extra 15 cents per reimbursable breakfast on top of the supply chain assistance funds. So we're feeling like we should leave prices where they are, but we do anticipate reevaluating that for next year. And then the SHIP grant that I talked about last year, because of supply chain, we were not able to get those Tower Gardens into Glendale yet, but their fiscal year ends on October 31st. So we're hoping that we'll have the Tower Gardens in hand before October 31st this year. And then we applied for and got a larger portion of the Minnesota Ag Full Tray Farm to School grant. We can purchase Minnesota grown food items, $27,000 worth of Minnesota grown food items, and then an equipment match of $14,500, and that's where we get that $41,500 for the Agri grant. So that's everything in a nutshell. If you can really sum up last year in 5 minutes, that's about as good as I can get, so.
Any comments or questions for Director Malone? 3 in a row. Mary, you want to start?
First of all, thank you very much. I know it was a crazy year. It's been a crazy 3 years, I believe.
Yeah.
I do have a couple of questions. The supply chain assistance funds, how much of that is left for 2023? In other words, this school year?
I can't tell you that for sure yet, right now, but I know that we didn't start applying any funds to that money until like May of this year.
Okay, good.
So it was right around May that we started applying, and what we've done is we're using the middle schools and for food and milk from the middle schools for that $150,000.
And then I understand that the Keep Kids Fed Act is really helps the free and reduced lunch programs, but with a couple years of families not having to apply for that, what does that leave us in as far as trying to get them up to speed to make sure they do apply so we can take advantage of it?
Yeah, we're gonna do a lot of outreach, starting the end of July, beginning of August, on filling out these forms. So the USDA has allowed us to use pre-pandemic applications and roll them over. And so now those will roll over until through October. And so when we start to see, mid-October, when we start to see families that haven't reapplied for the next school year, we target those families directly and say, hey, your rollover is going to end. It's usually like October 20th or so. So please fill out this application. So we'll be doing that, and then we find that the most responsive that we get from parents is when we send it through principals. So we'll have principals put it in their newsletters to make sure to fill out applications.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
Stacy?
Just a couple, it's along the lines of families now having to pay.
Mm-hmm.
Has there been any notification that way to families so that they're aware? Okay.
Yes.
So that it's not going to be surprising for people?
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
because I knew it was kind of iffy, we weren't sure.
Yeah, we weren't sure. I kind of went out there and just said it wasn't going to happen because I didn't
Yeah.
think it was going to. Really USDA was saying it's not going to happen. We're
Okay.
not going to. I mean, there's still some people even now saying, oh, I think it's going to go through. But, and you never know. I mean,
Right.
every day they say something new. But I don't think it will.
Okay.
But
So,
yeah,
but
we
families
did-
know then, the
Yes.
expectation. And then as far as staffing, is it looking any more promising or not necessarily?
I won't know. I
Okay.
won't know until the beginning of August.
Okay.
The first 2 weeks of August is when we do our big staffing
Push.
push, so. But we saw kind of a surge of, I don't know if you call it a surge, but we saw, people applying after the first of the year this year, which is not very common. Normally, I think because it's a 9-month-a-year job, and it takes a couple weeks to onboard, by January 15th, we really don't have any applications, but we actually did this past year, so.
Okay. And then turnover wise, have we had a lot of turnover as far as, not, I mean, I've seen the managers and not a lot, but I'm just saying like the more part-time staff and that kind of thing.
Some of the brand-new employees that we got during that really big push last fall, I think we're just kind of trying it out, and we did lose about half of those.
Okay.
But, we have a core 60% of our staff that's been with us for actually quite a long time. So we still have them.
Yep.
It's just those others that kind of have turned over, some retirements and stuff.
All right. Thank you.
You answered my questions.
Okay.
Yes, so thank you. And just a little shout out to you and your staff. I mean, it was incredible watching you guys work when staff shortages, supply shortages, and being able to be in there a little bit and see how nimble everybody is and how hard you teamwork and say, okay, Jeffers needs this, and we're going to Westwood. It was really fun, and
Yeah.
obviously they love working for you too, so.
Thank you. Appreciate that, and thank you to all you guys.
And I'll pass along my thanks as well, and I just, for the record, again, please share with your staff, not only are they nimble and talented and committed, but I really learned firsthand that their main goal when they're out there is not to just get food on the trays, it's to love those kids.
Yeah.
And that just shifted my whole perspective, so thank you to them from all of us.
Yeah, I'll pass that along. Thank you.
Should we do your other two items
Yep.
before we jump back?
Let's
Okay.
do that. So, our milk and bread bids that we do every year just are a little bit different this year, so I did put that memo in the board packet. And we sent out the bread bid as usual, and we sent it out to 3 companies and received just the 1 bid. And that's typical for several years now. So I am asking that you let us award the bread bid to Bimbo. On June 6th, though, earlier in the spring, I started talking to St. Paul Beverage Solutions that supplies all of our milk and dairy products, and asked them if we could renew our contract at the same price as last year, and he said, yeah. So on June 6th, we received that letter. It was, he just added that little note to the top. So that's what we're using as the bread, or the milk bid. He's just saying that it'll carry over starting on September 1st. So I'm asking that you allow us to award the milk bid to St. Paul Beverage Solutions.
Could I have a motion to approve both the milk and bread bid awards as presented by Director of Child Nutrition Services, Emily Malone?
So made.
Do I have a second?
Second.
By Jonathan, Enrique and Jonathan. Any comments or questions? Mary?
One question on that. I know that St. Paul bought out AgroPure, and I thought before that AgroPure bought out the one we were using before that, or something like that. There's been a lot of consolidation
There
in the
has.
food markets. So I'm thrilled that we got the same price, but there's very little competition. So what do you anticipate for other contracts that are going to be up for renewal next year?
Milk and bread, or others meaning,
Other
like small wares?
vendors, things like that. Do we have a contract with Cisco?
Yes.
We do.
Yeah, they are our prime vendor for food, and we're part of a St. Paul buying group, and so the buying group takes care of all of that bidding. We'd pay a fee to be a part of that group.
Okay. Do you anticipate any increases?
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, the bread prices went up quite a bit. Everything's going up quite a bit. We get emails and messages all the time about things increasing and, delivery fees that we never had before. Ferndale Farms, that's who it is, they're turkey, our turkey people in Cannon Walls. They've never had a delivery fee for us, and this year they're starting it with a delivery fee, so it's just, it's tough, and, people are asking if we can please just drop at one central spot rather than having to deliver to all 10, and then when we say no, in the cases where we do, they put some fees on there for deliveries. So, yeah, I do believe that everything's going to go up.
Other comments or questions? Okay, all those in favor of approving the Milk and Bread bid awards as presented, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries 7-0. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Great. I think we're just going to jump back. And Beth, if you'd be willing to come up and do the co-curricular year-end report. Thank you. I want to assure you that Dr. Thomas did a really fine job on the earlier part this evening as well.
Well, very nice to meet everyone here. Sorry about that. I did get the memo that it was 6 o'clock, but I didn't see that little detail, so here I am. So I might need help just getting it on the screen. Okay, so good evening, everyone. I'm Beth Fuller, standing in for Jeff Marshall, our new activities director this year, who did a fantastic job this year. So our presentation entails the whole year summary, so it's a little bit longer than doing it season by season. So we started off just with the general activities vision that we reshaped a little bit this year as well. And then I will click through here. The definition for success for our students in Prior Lake High School and throughout our district. Basically, we want to help create lifelong memories. We want to help them develop lifelong relationships and teach and learn lifelong lessons. And so it's not all about what happens on the field, on the court, in the pool, wherever they are, but we also want to make sure we're taking care to have all of that. We have the Lakers acronym, and that's for the moral character development. And then we also have a Laker acronym for the performance as well. Jeff takes the time to go through all of that with each group of parents and athletes each season as we enter each season. You guys can read through that. This year, for some of our highlighted departmental changes, we introduced the new live stream service, and that's called Lakers Live. We hired a young man named Logan Anderson, and he had been working with Lakeville School and Shakopee, and now he's actually expanding to Eden Prairie and Lakeville South as well, possibly Farmington, and so he's really looking to do this. He has a crew of people that help basically promote our activities and athletics, as well as our plays, everything. He just wants to highlight the good that's happening in our schools and with all of our activities. And he did a great job. We do have a lot of local personalities that we were able to help work in to keep some of the same fan base, because we know that happens as well. This year, Jeff created the Laker Leaders Group, basically an inclusive leadership group. In the past, we had some different groups. We had like a captain's group. We also had a group where it was kind of like super fans, and this year we tried to blend some of those things, just some of our students that we see in the halls that either coaches, advisors, or teachers had identified as leaders within our community, and started working with them bi-weekly, and he did a really good job putting that together and identifying some coaches to help him with that. New department staff, as we said, Jeff Marshall came in last July, and he was actually here last year to help present the Laker Pride. We were on time that day, so don't hold it against us today. And then we just hired Heather Pearson to help us as a fill-in. Jane Jolitz left after many years of service, and so Heather's had the job or task of learning all the different parts of the job for helping support our office. And so that's been fun for her as well. She's also a coach in our program, and so knows a lot about how to work with our athletes and our activities students. And then the last thing is Jeff helped create the Laker Athletic Alliance. Just recently, he met with some leaders from all of the different community groups, PLAY, Prior Lake Soccer Club, the Hockey Association, and Laker Wrestling Club, to help start working with bullying and have the same messages going out and talking about what's expected and what our responsibilities are as coaches and as people participating in those programs. So that was very cool. Just to show you the MSHSL enrollment from last year, 2021-22, Prior Lake numbers were third largest high school in our state. And so we have a lot of people competing for some spots here on our programs. And so it is definitely difficult at times. And so we're always trying to look for other ideas and ways to help promote other activities and get people involved. The fall participation, it kind of walks through how some of our programs have gained back some numbers. You'll see that football bounced back, boys soccer bounced back. You know, many of the programs did. And then you'll see the fall play. We had the numbers back again because it was all video last year, and so that was a little difficult. Most of our programs bounced back. Obviously, some lost some numbers, and so we're hoping to rebuild those and start that outreach again. Winter numbers also showing quite a bit of numbers that stayed the same or started to come back to where we were. We didn't have very many interruptions last year, and so I think by winter we started to kind of get back on track with where everything was. You'll see that our strength training numbers, we started to have that again last spring and last winter, and that really bounced back. And then we were able to offer like the intramural basketball program and some other programs where we had those virtual last year, or we had them not at all. And so that really helped kids get involved again as well. Our spring season numbers were pretty solid. Almost all the numbers were pretty competitive with what they were before, or else they had grown a little bit as well. Boys volleyball this spring, as most of you may know, it did not make it into the MSHSL category in terms of being supported as one of their varsity programs, but within our district, we still supported them, and they fundraised and helped create experiences, and they worked to not cut anybody this year, and so that's why their numbers look so large right now. They're really trying to encourage it, and I thought they did a really good job. Our cooperative agreements, we have adapted soccer, that's among the 4 schools, and that's also with adapted softball, Prior Lake, Chan, Chaska, and Shakopee, and that's the Southern Stars competing as a team in the CI division. And then in the fall, we have the cooperative agreement with Jordan for girls swim and dive. In the winter, Nordic has one with New Prague, and Alpine has it with Farmington. In the spring, this year, for the first time, we had a cooperative agreement with Burnsville, so Burnsville hosted that, and we had one Prior Lake student that participated in that program. The next slide just lists our fine arts activities that we provide all in one place. And then the next slide just lists all of the programs that we have. And then this year, over 30 active student-led clubs, which is the most ever. Students came back kind of ready to be involved in some sort of activity. There were a lot of service organizations that developed, and some of those organizations had over 80 members to help start getting involved and to contribute and give back to our community. For other opportunities, we have the intramural program featuring ping pong in the fall, basketball in the winter, ski trips in the winter. We have had bowling when there's interest there. That's usually in the fall. And then adding in for next year, we're going to have fall dance and then also offer some combination of soccer and futsal. We just started having those meetings this summer to get those going as well. The second column is the independent providers group, and basically each of those groups work with us to have coaches who provide programming for each of the different categories listed there, and that's a growing list as well, again, trying to offer more opportunities for our students to get involved in an activity. And those are very popular. Then we go through the fall scoreboard. So it's kind of summarizing how each individual program did over the course of their season. And I won't go through and list everybody's overall record or anything like that, but just some highlights to see, like, for example, girls swim and dive went 9-0 in the conference and were champs again. They've had quite a bit of success lately, and they still have a very young program. Boys cross country, we had a conference champion, Hootie Haig, and he was also 7th at state, and he's done very well in the program. The girls cross country, they were section champs this year, or conference champs, and then section runner-up. And so they had a 3rd place finish at state this year as well. And our adapted soccer got to participate for the first time in 3 years with all the different COVID protocols that we had, so they were able to come back and get going again too. Over the winter, as many people know, our boys hockey program excelled and had their best finish ever, getting to go to state for the first time in school history and finishing 4th. We had our boys swim and dive conference runner-ups, and I know many were presented tonight, the wrestling state champ, Alan Kaler, and then the cheer program had many accolades, and so hopefully Maddie Bills gave you the rundown on all of that. Our alpine ski did very well, and then gymnastics also had 2 individual state qualifiers as well. Then we added a few pictures so everybody could see their smiling faces. Spring scoreboard update. Our boys lacrosse program finished as state runner-up in a hot time of year. They did very well coming through that. We had 2 boys golf individuals qualify, first time since 2012. And our baseball program did very well in their playoff run. Our boys track and field had many individual students that did well. And then our girls track and field, same thing. We had some standouts that really showed up in the final section and state playoff areas. Our synchronized swim team also performed very well with a limited number of members, but they came together and did really well. And our trap and skeet teams also, obviously they just had a big weekend just now. I don't know if Scott Conrad made it back for tonight, but they also came in 9th out of 240 teams over this past competition in Michigan. And then our adapted softball program also made it to state, despite playing 1 player short all season. So they played with one, basically not a second baseman, kind of a cheating right fielder a little bit. And then they ended up making it to state, so they were pretty happy to get 4th this year. Again, some photos of each of those groups that had some highlights. Activities update. This year the speech team had 3 individuals that qualified for state, and 2 of them also qualified for nationals. And then our knowledge and quiz bowl team finished 2nd in the SSC, qualified for nationals. Robotics went back to working in person, and they had quite a strong season as well, finishing 30th out of 189 teams. And I know they did many demonstrations around the district and for the Senate, different highlights that they showed. And so I feel like that program is going to continue to rebuild again and get students excited. Our mock trial team top finished to make it to round 5 of the playoffs, but then got knocked out in a super close match that was virtual as well. Julia Hansen was our Athena Award winner this year. She actually graduated a little early and started working out with the U of M this past spring. And she was selected. As always, the Athena Award is given to strong athletes, strong GPA, highly committed person in the program for one of the female seniors. This past year, we had a choir update, 6 all-state PLHS singers, and each of them, most of them were in the mixed choir, and then 2 students were also in, they have a treble choir and an all-female choir, and so each one of them got in that as well. 6 is the most you can send, so the choir teachers are always excited when they get 6 in. Our band update, we had 2 students participate in the All-State Band this past year, Gabriel Coleman and Benjamin Nelson, and so congrats to both of them on an excellent year as well. Our theater program, as we said, was up and running. The Wizard of Oz had terrific performances, kind of getting back to those audiences that they're used to performing in front of with a pretty good size audience. That's the musical that we had, and then in the winter we had The Pyramid, which performed well. It competes in the MSHSL competition, and it performed well at sections, but just missed going to state. And then Macbeth was our spring play, a tough one to perform, but they did a great job, and the set was amazing too. Changes for 22-23, we mentioned that we're going to add the fall performance dance team as an intramural coming up, and then we're also going to add futsal and soccer depending on the weather. It'll be indoor or outdoor, and we're also going to add that for females and males this year. Listed there are the new head coaches and advisors for some of our programs. Some of those folks started this year in the spring, and some will take on their new roles starting next year with fall and winter sports. And we just wanted to also give a shout out to Katie Bonesock, retiring from synchronized swimming, 42 years as a coach, pretty amazing. So we'll be looking for someone to fill that role and keep that program going as well. The wrap up, and this is directly from Jeff. So grateful that we had very few interruptions this year. We were able to provide so many students with lots of opportunities and keep everything moving in the right direction. Big thank you to everybody who helped out, and that includes everyone listed on that screen. Coaches, advisors, teachers, administrators, the school board, the district office staff, custodians, activities office staff, parents, community. We would also throw in the booster groups that help support us, as well as sponsors that help keep our programs going, and the students, of course, and the officials that help us run all of these organizations as well, and spectators. So thank you to everybody for a great year.
Thank you. Do we have any comments or questions for Beth? Mary, go ahead.
So, great year, very glad we were able to get back up. And you mentioned that the fans are coming back. How did we do with ticket sales? Because I know we made a huge change before COVID started with the ticket plans and stuff like that. So how did that go over?
I would have to pull Nancy Tice up here. I don't think she's here tonight. I have to pull exactly to know the business side of it, but I do know that in terms of numbers of people in the stands, our home football games were right back up there to the community being there, and so were all of our winter sports and spring sports. So I would say everything bounced back pretty well. So I can't imagine that ticket sales aren't right up there. Yeah.
And then as far as the cooperative agreements, a couple years ago, we were going to do a cooperative agreement for gymnastics with Shakopee. They were going to try again in a couple years, because I thought there was some sort of conflict where it wouldn't go through, because we already had a cooperative agreement on something else.
Yeah.
And I noticed that they weren't on the list.
Yep. I know that we did have one with, I can't remember which school it was right now. We did have one for a little while. Yeah, it might have been Jordan. And I believe that one has ended. They did not send any participants this past year. Okay. And our program has grown a lot. And so I think the fear is not wanting to take it on if we can't include everybody to be in our own program here. And so I think Shakopee started looking for another person to partner with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And then one last question, because I've heard a lot about this, and that's Nordic ski.
Okay.
There's a lot of schools starting to pull out because of lack of snow, shortened season, the whole bit. Has that conversation happened here at all?
Not that I know of. I know within our conference that a lot of schools ski together. So like, for example, it might be the Egan and, I can't remember who's with who, Egan and Eastview are together for girls, you know what I mean, that kind of thing. And so I know that there's been a lot of conversations within our own conference, but it seems like it's pretty solid in terms of the numbers and in terms of, they just train on the land until they get snow, and then they rearrange their competitions if they need to. Like if there's not snow and they're planning to have an event on a Saturday, they'll rearrange it and the coaches will work together and we'll rearrange transportation, and then they'll put it off a week or put it off 2 weeks, that kind of thing. So I don't see that.
Great.
Yeah.
That's good news.
Yeah,
Thank you, Beth.
yeah.
Any other comments or questions? My question is just how do you get to so many different places at the same time? Because you are cheering on somebody over here and then you're reporting on somebody over there, whether it's a.
Sometimes I miss family dinners.
I'm sorry to Beth's family, but.
But I've been hanging out with them all week. I've had my in-laws here for 10 days, so that's where I've been. And I'm like, oh, I've got to get ready for this meeting that I have at 7 o'clock. And then I left at 4:30, and then sorry. So.
No, it worked just fine. But thank you to you and Jeff and your entire staff. It's great to see all the numbers and the participation and the awards, but it's also great to know that you're really focused around bigger lifelong learning goals. And I think we always appreciate that you lead with that, so thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
Thanks, Beth.
Thank you.
All right, if I am at the correct place in our agenda, I think up next is the approval of the PLSAS school handbooks.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Thomas. We are here tonight. It's been quite a while, actually, since we've come forward and brought forward handbooks for review and policies that reside in the handbooks. Certainly, those policies go through a review process. But we came together about probably January of this past school year and pulled a team of folks together and said we needed to bring that forward and we needed to make sure that we had consistency. So it was work that Mr. Quorum and Christy Mussman and myself facilitated with a group of representatives from each, and I have some of those folks here tonight, that came together to review for the purpose of standardization and making sure that all of our student parent handbooks had the right policies in them and were consistent. So we looked at the model MSBA guide on this because there are certain policies at MSBA. There are certain that are recommended and certain that are required. And then we, within our internal policies, have some that we've identified as needing to be reported. So what you have in your board packet is a summation of that, all of the policies that are going to be then put into each respective handbook, and then the intent is that we will have our elementary folks coming together for a standardization of that with unique things to the particular site. For example, they may explain the drop-off procedures in the parent handbook because it's different at each respective site, but the policies will be consistent. Likewise, there's a common middle school campus policy as well, or a handbook rather, as well as similarly one for the high school. And also in this process, we will be communicating this out to our families in early August, and then there will be a sign-off electronically with the update as we prepare for the school year. So it will be sent out, and then it will be also standardized on each respective website as well. So I have members of our group here, Lori Palmer representing early childhood, Mr. Thorpe, Chad Thorpe, assistant principal at the high school, Richie Kuczynski from the elementary, and John Dahl was also a part of our group, unable to be here tonight, representing the middle school. So we reviewed and standardized, and that's what you have before you here tonight, and we're here if there are any questions for us collectively.
Okay, how about if I'll take a motion in a second, and we'll open it up for questions, if that's okay? Do I have a motion to approve the PLSAS school handbook?
So made.
I think I heard Stacy first. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Enrique. Okay, comments and questions while we have the staff here. Go ahead, Stacy.
I think, I just wanted to make just a couple, the bullying prohibition one, which is our school board policy 506.1, which I know we're approving later this evening because it's a required one, is one that we talked about, I think, at the last board meeting, that we will be bringing forward, like at a study session here quickly.
That is correct. The intention is to bring that forward at our August study session, but we will, as required, bring that for approval here tonight. And then the beauty of this document that you have in front of us is it will be hyperlinked, and so as those policies get updated, they'll all be up to date within this standardized handbook.
Okay. And then as far as, so parents sign off on this and knowledge of this, is there anything with changes and things that we have acknowledgement or training for staff, so that staff's aware, broadly?
Do you want to take that real quick?
One of the things that we do at the beginning of each year is get a slide deck together for all of the staff to give the building principals or administrators in order to review with their staff, and we have a lot of those things listed within there. We call them policies of note because we don't expect they're going to review every single one of them, no, but there's some as far as teacher or para or whatever they need to have knowledge of, and so we include that in that slide deck as part of that.
Okay. So they have an acknowledgement of it, though? I mean,
Correct.
and then the
Well, we
training.
haven't built that in the past, but we've talked about doing that going forward in some kind of Google Doc that we capture that to make sure that we get everybody.
If people are missing or
Yep.
need to review it or whatever.
Yep, and we have had certain policies that we have had that requirement of completion and review typically by MEA or mid-October.
Okay. I think that's it for me right now.
Other comments or questions? I did like how it read, and you can just go right to that policy, and the fact that it can be continually updated as opposed to the old days of getting a packet of materials that's static. That's great. So thank you to everybody who put work into that. That had to be a monumental project to get that done.
It was, and I just want to give kudos to Christy. We probably should have had her step up here because she was instrumental in that particular piece of pulling it all together.
Great. Thank you, Christy. Appreciate that. All right, so we do have a motion and a second on the table. All those in favor of approving the PLSAS school handbook, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries 7-0. Thank you, staff, very much. All right. Next up, we have Assistant Director of Operations and Transportation, Maureen Mullen, who will be presenting the bid award approval for the 2022 pavement rehabilitation project. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Thomas, Chair Nelson, members of the board. We'd like to seek approval for the acceptance of the pavement rehabilitation bids. As you remember, we requested permission at the June 13th board meeting. The bid opening was July 6th, with Allied Blacktop coming in with the low bid, and we recommend accepting this bid. We had some concerns about how they were going to come in with inflation, supply chain issues, but we got some very good pricing, and we're right in the ballpark for our budget number, so we're very pleased with that.
Okay, why don't we start? Do I have a motion to approve the bid approval as presented in your packet? By Julie. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Enrique. Comments or questions? Mary?
So this is going to be for the blacktop as well as for the sidewalks?
Yes, so it's primarily blacktop. The concrete work that we have is we are lifting at several sites, JP, Red Tail, Edgewood. We've got quite a few at the high school as well. Some of the storm sewer catchment, sinking, lifting, and the curbing. So curbing is included. We do have a couple of small pavement projects. One is at Lola del Lago, but those are more pieces that are in conjunction with the pavement projects that we're doing. We do some other concrete work. We either do it in-house or contract that out separately for more sidewalk work.
Could you just explain what the add alternate two is? And I know that Jim already explained it to me,
Sure.
but, okay.
So this is part of the high school project. We are doing the east and the southeast parking lots, the student lots, and we have the 3 drives that come into those lower lots. We needed to break them up over a couple of years because we couldn't shut that lot down. So we put out each of those drives as a separate alternate. We chose the southeast add alternate this year. It's in the worst shape, and it ties into the lower lot right now. And then when we do, I expect we'll do them next year, the other 2 drives into that lot at that time.
What about repainting the stripes after?
Yeah, it's part of the
Okay,
package.
It's part of the
Yep.
package, okay. And this all comes out of our current levy?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Other comments or questions? All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the bid award for the 2022 pavement rehabilitation project, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries 7-0.
Thank you.
All right, and then next up, long-term facility maintenance.
So we're seeking approval for our 10-year updated LTFM plan. We sent the plan out to the FLRP committee for review ahead of the meeting. We did not have a FLRP committee meeting ahead of this meeting. And our big focus in the coming years is more pavement rehab. We also have some big projects replacing some obsolete pool filtration systems, as well as other ongoing projects.
Great. Let's start with a motion and a second. Do I have a motion to approve the long-term facility maintenance proposal as presented?
So made.
By Stacy. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second by Amy. Comments or questions?
Maureen, I have one
Yes, Mary.
question, and that was, and I'm sorry, Jim did sit down with me and talk to me about some of it, but I didn't have the details on it. The HVAC upgrades and things, does that have to do with the building automation system?
Are you referring to a specific site or just in general?
No, I'm sorry, the upgrade and replace the ventilation, as well as there was some other wording in here, and you may not know
Sure.
the answer, but I was just wondering.
Well, I can tell you that as we did our bond work, when we did mechanical systems for any of our bond projects, we upgraded our control systems at the same time. We still have some systems to update. This building is one of them.
Right.
And we have a couple of units. We're also adding our lighting, especially exterior lighting, to our digital controls. So that's some of the things that we're doing.
Are we still, no, we have Siemens mostly, but is it,
We have-
oh,
we
no,
have-
that's Yule.
We have
Yule.
both, yeah.
Okay, how many Siemens do we have versus Yule?
I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
off
fine.
the
I
top
just
of my
know that
head.
there was a coordination issue
Yeah.
between the 2 different systems. Okay.
Okay, other comments or questions? All right, we have a vote and a second. All those in favor of approving long-term facility maintenance proposal, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is the American Indian Parent Advisory Committee response letter with Director Sam Oak.
Good evening, Dr. Thomas, Chair Nelson, member of the board. As stated in the agenda, we have 60 days to respond to the letter of non-concurrence that our APAC, which is our American Indian Parent Advisory Committee, have issued to us in the vote of non-concurrence. 60 days would have been July 9th. However, I did spoke to MDE, and it is okay to hand that in today here. In the letter, it stated 3 concerns that they had, how we reported allotted funds to them, the activities and programming that we offer around American Indian education in our school district, and also the support for our high school Native American students. In the letter of response, I outlined some clarifications to their concerns and also plans on how we would address their needs and their concerns. There are definitely room for growth in terms of the programs we offer and the partnership and relationship that we continue to develop. I am happy, though, to share that in the last 2 months of the school year, there has been an increase in participation and engagement within our Native American parent community, and also the SMSC tribe as well. So we look forward to continue that momentum going forward into this year.
Again, let's start. Do we have a motion to approve the response letter as presented?
So made.
By Julie, second Amy. Okay, comments or questions for Sam? I'd just like to thank you. I know you made extra time to give all of us the opportunity to come in and talk with you individually to understand better where the concerns were and to listen to the steps that you have taken. And just, I know that we all appreciate the efforts that you've made to strengthen the relationship, strengthen the program, and better address those needs. So thanks for all of that. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Stacy?
Just to reiterate, I can't remember off the top. I mean, we do, I know you meet, and I
Yes.
think Dan too, on a regular basis, right?
Yep, I meet monthly with the APAC committee.
Okay, so throughout this whole year,
Throughout this
that's
whole
been
year.
going on,
That's been going on, yes.
which I know is an increase, I think, of years previous. I think it was more quarterly, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, in quarterly, our participation in the committee from our senior leaders was quarterly. So this year, Dan and I had met with the past chair of APAC, and they asked for increase in involvement and connection between them. So this year going in, we planned and we met with them on a monthly basis.
Okay. And as far as participation, so you're saying with the, like, increased effort at the end of the year, we had good participation from students?
Yes,
And-
yep, the APAC committee is made out of students, parents, staff members, and even a representative from SMSC. And at the end of the year, we noticed an increase from 1 to 2 parents at a meeting to anywhere from 12 to 30 parents at our events and meetings.
And I mean, I do appreciate, I think, the tone of the letter. I think understanding that, you know, recognizing that, yes, we've had, you know, we have room to improve and things weren't as what we expected. I know it was a tough year, but I mean, I appreciate you really, like, taking hold of this and, you know, driving it forward. And I would say the efforts also from the APAC group as far as continuing to work with us and, you know, working together in a positive note. To me, the letter itself and even the previous letter when they wrote to us, I mean, I think was, the tone was not, you know, really derogatory. It was more like, let's work together, which I think is really important for us to continue to move forward. So thank you for those efforts, and thank you to the APAC for continuing to bring this forward and holding us accountable, so.
Yeah, I'd like to reiterate what Stacy said. In the time I've been on the board, I don't think we've ever been in concurrence. And the response to this letter actually has a plan, which is refreshing. And I do think that there is an excellent chance that that relationship can be approved, thanks to you and to the efforts of the parents actually coming together and the committee members. So, and I think that's a testament to you coming on board, Sam. So thank you.
Other comments or questions?
Yeah,
Enrique?
I wanted to echo those sentiments as well, just kind of noting that we're definitely seeing a shift over the past several years in non-concurrence. We're still non-concurrent, but we're non-concurrent in different avenues, in different ways. And what we see here before us with the letter that we received from the American Indian Parent Advisory Committee and your response is that collaborative partnership. We do really see a lot of work going into this, a lot of passion, a lot of sweat, a lot of tears. So I just wanted to thank you, and then also that cohort of parents that continue to rally around this effort, because this is of tantamount importance. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, we do have a motion and a second on the table. At this point, all of those in favor of approving the AIPAC response letter, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That carries 7-0. Thank you very much, Sam. Okay, up next is the approval of the resolution establishing dates for filing affidavits, and I'm going to turn that over to Dr. Thomas.
Thank you, Chair Nelson, Board Directors. Tonight, I'm recommending that the Board consider for a roll call vote the resolution establishing dates for filing affidavits of candidacy as submitted on the Board agenda this evening.
Okay, and that information was all in your packet. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So made.
By Stacy, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Enrique. Any comments or questions? Okay, this is routine. We do this before every election, and this is a roll call vote as it is a resolution. So Julie?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Stacy?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Enrique?
Aye.
Jonathan?
Aye.
Aye. That carries 7-0. Thank you very much. All right, this evening we will move on to policy and policy review. First up is policy 410, Executive Director of Administrative Services, Jim Quorum.
Good evening, Board Chair, Superintendent Thomas. For the first look at this is the family medical leave policy. It looks like there's a lot of changes, but as far as substantive changes in policy, there's very few. This is mostly all formatting, and it's an attempt to be more in line and consistent with MSBA model policy. So as far as, like I said, substantive changes, there is very little in here. This is all pretty much formatting, getting in line with updated language, which MSBA recommends.
Okay, great. Any questions on that policy? This is at the first read. Nope. Okay, thank you. Policy 425, District Staff Development. Dan Edwards.
In Prior Lake Savage Area Schools, we have a long history of strong staff development, but as you see in your packet, this particular policy hasn't been reviewed for quite some time. So we took a look at it and wanted to make the changes as noted there to align with practice, what we've been doing in terms of staff development and in terms of our building instructional leadership teams in particular, playing a crucial role in how we support our staff across the district. And we did reinstate this past year a district staff development committee that had representation from across all buildings in the district. And we intend to continue that, and this policy now is in line with that practice as well.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on this policy? Mary?
Dan, I had one question, and I know that, especially during COVID, a lot of these staff used their staff development funds to purchase personal equipment and things like that. I noticed that's not called out in here. Is that just still a standard that they have the opportunity to purchase laptops and different materials and stuff like that instead of attending development?
Yeah, that still is embedded in specific contracts, not something that necessarily in all contracts, but certain employee groups have language in their contracts around that. And likewise, as you pointed out, there was a lack of workshop opportunities in the last couple of years as well. And a change in approach to workshop opportunities with virtual opportunities being made available as well. So just like anything else, the world of staff development looks different now than it did pre-pandemic.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, next up, policy 515. Is there anything to?
That's right. That was the one with minimal change, if any. I
Yep.
think date was
Yep.
the only thing that was updated on that particular one.
Good. You want to move right into 610?
And that's the
Unless
field.
there were questions on that one. Any questions on that one? Okay, thank you.
And 610 is field trip, correct?
Yep.
And that, actually, the only change is the naming of the title of Jim Quorum as the additional support to the superintendent in review of major magnitude.
Sounds good. Any comments or questions on that one? Okay, thank you very much
Thank you.
for getting all of those for us. Next up is policy 612.1, development of parental involvement in policies for Title I programs. No changes on that. Any questions while we have Sam here? Mary, you have a question?
Oh, you did it for Sam. I was just saying, are we going in order? But we're not. So you missed 515.
No, we did
No,
that
we
one.
did it.
The
Didn't we?
protection of private,
Yeah, we did
including
that.
the,
Yeah, we did that one.
can we go
There were
back to
no
515 then? Because I did have a question on that. I was trying to follow the numbers.
Oh,
Sorry.
we just put Dan through the paces. He went through them all.
All right. You getting your steps in, Dan?
Yes, thank you.
I had a question on the release of directory information. And as you know, I do this every 2 years. It's been typical. Ours is different than other school districts. We have in the language that we release automatically for all students unless the box below is checked. Usually the information is not released automatically. If you look at other school districts, they do it on demand. But the other thing is that it's all in one, and we continue to have parents upset that they can't remove their names from the student directory that goes out to everybody, including the names, the students, the ages, the address, all that, unless they also get removed from, you know, everything from yearbook photos and everything like that. We put it all together. So I'm going to ask again that we look at that and allow families to not, who have a more direct form.
If I'm tracking your question correctly, we do offer to have parents opt out of certain pieces. For example, if they want to be in the yearbook but not in something else, that is definitely allowable. The way we promote the directory information piece is to have parents call Liz, because it's very confusing to them, and that's where she has this big spreadsheet that has lists of what they opt in or out of, or sorry, opt out of. So they can pick and choose, but it's easier to explain that in a conversation versus email, because in the past, it was just creating so much confusion for people.
Yeah, other school districts do have a form, and obviously, one of the issues is the way it's presented is it's deny release of all, and then the use of automatically, released automatically. That's not the same language in not only the state, but also the other school districts. It's on demand, so, and I know I brought this up every 2 years, but it is confusing to parents, and we may want to update the form. The other thing is last 2 years ago, we were supposed to update the form to also include email in the bullets, and that still didn't make it in. The fact that the email address of the parent or whomever, parents and guardians are also in there.
If that's the wishes of the board, we can go that way.
Yeah, so let me ask about, first of all, do you get a number of complaints from parents?
Since we've gone to this system, it's gone a lot smoother when they can talk to somebody. We've tried lots of different forms over the years, and it just, I think part of it is they think of directory information as like a phone directory.
Yeah.
So it's just confusing language, and we understand that's confusing, so we found that it's better just having conversations with people.
I'm going to ask a very naive question, if you don't mind. Do all of the schools, like the elementary school, send home a printed directory with all of that information to parents? Is that what that's referring to? No. Okay, so we're not talking about a public dissemination of all that information. Okay.
Actually, the directories do have the names and addresses and stuff like that in there, and unfortunately, during election years, people use that to start calling, and that's when, 2 years ago, there was quite a few complaints.
We don't maintain those, but PTCs do that on their own, and they have parents, I believe they have them opt into that. That's separate from us, though. I'm not sure how they do
PTCs don't pull the data
it.
from school. The parent has to give the data to the PTC. It's not even tied to I just know from doing it. Yeah.
Okay, so that's helpful. So that's not, we're not controlling the information that's going out in directories. That's PTC voluntarily driven, sounds like?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so what I guess I need from the school board is direction if you want anything to be reconsidered in this policy when it's brought forward, or leave it as is. In other words, I just need clear direction to go back to them.
And Christy, you said this is not something with which you have a whole lot of communication with people who are unhappy? I mean, is this a challenge? Is it?
It's the last couple of years, it's run quite smoothly, actually. And we just have a handful of people who have opted out of certain parts of directory information.
And those who have chosen to opt out of some of those things haven't felt like it was cumbersome to do so?
No. Mm-mm.
Can you just clarify for us, again, this is a silly question. When you say directory, who has that information, who has access to it?
So if somebody were like to ask for the directory information, they would put in a data request for that.
Got it.
And that would come through my office, and then we would check the policy to make sure that's public or not.
Okay, so this is not something we're distributing, it's not on our website, nothing like that? probably. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure I understood, because when you say directory, we do pull up those old ideas of phone books, so. All right, so board, let me know, I don't know if you want to go one by one, or just give me a sense if we have board direction to revisit that before it comes back.
Well, all I can say is I get them. I mean, people do tell me that they're not only confused about the form with deny release, but especially those people that have moved in here from other district and they see the word released automatically for all students unless, you know, if you look at, let's say, Wyzetta's, they've got a TNC's and print this big of talking about, you know, the options and a form that actually pulls out the information that wouldn't be automatically available. And the booklets that are printed and the ability to get that information, particularly during an election year, is has gotten on a lot of people's nerves, and we have had some complaints at the state about that. Now, whether they're calling in the school, that's a whole nother situation. I mean, we've got to, you know, I hear it every 2 years in particular.
Okay, so we have a few different layers of this
Yeah.
going on. One is printed directories that go out by the PTCs are not what we're talking about in this policy. So if people are getting those and using them for elections, that's not what we're discussing in this policy, correct? Okay. Secondly, the question is, from your side, if you're not having problems, and this is what you'd recommend as the best way forward, is the policy brought forward, is the board comfortable with that as a whole, or do we need to ask for any changes? I don't want to say it as chair, one person can't say it to you.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with it when I hear that the families that do want to opt out are able to, and that it's not something you are hearing problems with. It sounds like it's working to me. I'm okay with it.
Okay, other thoughts?
I would agree with that. I
Okay.
mean, I've seen it the other way. I recall us when we changed this, and I know we had, you know, with the form, opt out, opt in, that kind of thing, and I think we've, you know, recognized when there's failings in it or issues that we, you know, change it, modify it, and the fact that they can talk to Liz, I think, is helpful.
Other thoughts?
I have a question.
Yep.
So I do see Liz's contact information at the bottom of page 1 as the point of contact to return the form to. It doesn't specify that if you have questions or if you want to append or augment what you opt in or opt out of. So how do parents know?
So we send an email every August to them to clarify that. And then we also put it in the Laker Connections newsletter, which gets mailed to every resident.
All right, thank you.
So they're made aware that at the time they would have to decide what to do with the form, okay? Are you comfortable as is, or do you want change?
I am comfortable.
Okay, anybody else? Okay,
Want to
Go
add
ahead.
that, you know, one time I went in to read just once, I'm not saying it was a population sample, and to read to students, and so they want to take a picture of the board member reading a book
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
students. It was kind of cute.
yeah.
And one kid got pulled out because their parents put deny on here, and they were the only kid that got pulled out because of the confusion with this form. And that was another instance where I'm not sure when people say, I don't want my information to be automatically released, that they understand the impact upon the student being potentially ostracized for pictures and all that, and their names listed, even though their addresses and personal information is not listed.
Someone gonna say something, did I hear, Stacy?
No, I just think that's what it's helpful to probably talk to someone like Liz when you're having
Yes.
that question. I mean, because that can be brought up or addressed.
What I would say is, as board members, as always, if we do get questions from parents, the first thing you do is direct them to the right staff. So if that's a concern, like, have them reach out to Christy or Liz right away, so that we can tally. If there's more of those comments coming into board members, we're aware of that. This is kind of where it comes down to management. We have to trust you that this is the best system and it's working, but you will come forward and propose changes if it is not working effectively. And again, let's just all encourage us as if we get comments on the street or at Target or whatever, like, let's connect them with you. So is our comfort level at this point to bring it forward for the next reading as is? Can I see a nod if everybody else who's comfortable with that? Okay. All right, so as of now, we'll go forward this way. I know it will come forward for a few more reads, so we've got some time too, so. All right, thank you, Mary, for bringing that up as well. I appreciate that. All right. And Sam, did you say no changes in your policy? Oh, thanks for coming up anyway to say. All right, and then Maureen, anything you want to bring up on policy 809, parking and traffic? No changes. Okay, anybody have questions on that for Maureen? Okay, thank you very much. Those will come forward again, as we said. There's no official first readings this time around. And then there is a second reading of policies that we have gone through a few times. While we have staff here, is there anything at this point that someone wants follow up on? I don't think we're taking a vote at this point. Those will come forward again, correct?
Correct.
So, okay, so those are all good as is. Next up is the annual policies for approval. There are several that were listed in your board packet. Does anybody need to officially present on that, or do you want me to, should I just read through the policies that will be in the annual? Okay, that sounds great. Thank you. The policies that are required to have approval by the board annually, I will list. I will just say that in our board packet, it was made clear to us that all of these listed either have been recently reviewed or are in the process of being reviewed. So just so because they're approved tonight, to make sure the date is updated and we've read them, doesn't mean we won't do more work on some of them, such as bullying, as Mary had brought up previously and Stacy brought up this evening. So for the sake of staying current, we'll ask tonight to approve them annually and know that those that haven't been fully edited or worked through will come forward still. So this evening, what we're being asked to approve is policy 413, harassment and violence for employees, 414 for mandated reporting, policy 506.1, bullying prohibition, policy 522, Title IX sex non-discrimination policy, and policy 524, electronic technologies and acceptable use policies. Do I have a motion to approve these annual policies as listed?
So made.
By Amy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Jonathan. Any comments or questions at this point? All right. All those in favor of approving all of the annual policies as listed in your board packet, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That carries 7-0. Thank you, everybody. Next up is our superintendent report. Dr. Thomas.
Thank you, Chair Nelson, board directors. Be brief this evening, but just got a little foreshadow for what is to come. This is day 6 for me, and I can just say it's been a very great time for me to just do a lot of listening, a lot of learning, connecting one-to-one with a lot of our central office leadership, as well as going out to some of our school sites to meet with our principals. And I think we have our first learning leaders meeting this week. And then our first senior leaders meeting this week, and really preparing kind of what our entry to the new school year will look like as we start up again in the fall. I will also be starting to go out to our summer targeted services program to start visiting with some of our site leaders and our staff, and really connect with some of our students over the summer to ensure that bridging learning is occurring. So I'm really excited about that. And then I will just foreshadow as we look to the future, as we get into the school year for around the superintendent's report. This will be an area that I would like to really highlight what's happening in our schools, and really look at engaging our schools to come out and present kind of a state of their schools that are aligned to their school improvement plan, so that the board and the community are up to date on a more iterative process of what's happening in our schools more formally, if you're not able to get out to them, specifically. So really looking forward to the opportunities that lie ahead. And again, really appreciate you and the community putting your trust in me, and really proud to be serving this district.
Thank you very much. All right, any administrative reports this evening? Okay, board members' reports. It's a little quieter in the summer, I know, with committees. Okay, and so I'm just going to take this moment, I don't know if it counts as a report, but I was wondering if have we done a formal introduction of Tammy yet? Would you mind if we did that? Thank you.
Go ahead.
Would you do it, or Tammy can introduce herself?
I'd be happy to. I'd like to introduce Tammy Frederickson. She's our new Executive Director of Business Services and comes from the Minneapolis Public Schools. And I'll allow her to say a few words if she'd like.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
We do that all the time here. So.
Thank you. Chair Nelson, Board, Dr. Thomas. I am thrilled to be here It's, I live in Burnsville, so this is much closer commute for me than driving to Minneapolis. As Dr. Thomas, this is day 6 for me, so I'm kind of trying to get acclimated and looking forward to working with everybody. So we'll have plenty more to talk about in the near future, so I look forward to that.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting us put you on the spot, and welcome. We're excited to work with you. Okay, if there are no other board reports at this time, then I will list future events that we have on the calendar. The candidate filing period for school board is August 2nd through 16th, 2022. The next regular school board meeting is August 18th, 2022, here at the DSC at 6 p.m. And the next board study session is August 22nd, 2022, here at the DSC at 6 p.m. So at this time, what we're going to do is, in a moment, I'll take a motion to adjourn our meeting, and we'll be transitioning to a closed meeting. The closed meeting will be, am I okay?
Yeah.
Will be closed in accordance with the open meeting law, Minnesota statute 13D.03, for the purpose of discussing negotiation strategy. So at this time, do I have a motion to adjourn this part of the meeting?
So
So
made.
made.
By Stacy, second by Enrique. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries 7-0. Thank you. Do you want about a 3-minute recess, everybody? Okay.